Good afternoon, my fellow hunters. Welcome to another episode of our Bloodborne walkthrough. For this episode, we are gonna be exploring the area called Upper Cathedral World, which is situated, if you guys remember, on the top floor of that healing workshop. Towards the right, and take this lift up the elevator. That's gonna be the place. And we got this key, Upper Cathedral Ward key, from that unseen village Yahargu from the last episode. So we're gonna be exploring Upper Cathedral Ward first. This area is again another optional area, and there are two bosses inside. The first boss is a cakewalk. What we are really interested in is the second boss, which is gonna be a bit tricky to deal with. And this whole area is actually quite short in terms of lands and not really that complex in terms of layout either. Okay, just taking our old route. You can see now that our weapons has been upgraded to +9. All these enemies can usually be taken out by 1 or 2 hits. Just be a bit more careful of your footing down here, because this is the ledge, which is quite easy to fall off if you get jumped by these two guys. Up the ladder towards your left, inside the entrance, there's gonna be 2 wheelchair old man. The one inside is wielding a fire spear. Okay, finish him off. And we are greeted with a new type of enemy. This is a larvae form of those, how do I put it, great ones in this game. Great Ones is another quite important player in this Bloodborne world in terms of storyline, so I'm not gonna elaborate on that. Just remember this boss is actually the larvae form of those Great Ones. And we are gonna meet quite a lot of them. 2 church hunters on the bridge. You can see that once our insights get above 40 or certain threshold, not quite clear on that, but you can see a lot of movesets from a lot more movesets from those church servants. For example, that lamp, one of them was holding on to. Initially, it doesn't emit any beam that could attack us, but now, since our insights get above a certain threshold, a lot of their attacks become visible to us. And once we're inside this place, you can hear that background music just suddenly plays up. Quite creepy and how do I put it? Terrifying. These larvae is not that deadly per se, but once you get bitten by them, it will actually build up your frenziness meter. So just make sure that you have your sedatives on standby all the time. can see right there, I was beaten by one of them, and my frenzy meter just built up continuously. Crows are always annoying, especially when they are crowded. Okay, up over here you can see that the psych guy, his psych is essentially glowing with arcane damage now. Initially, his psych is just a normal psych with normal physical damage. But like I said earlier, once our insight gets above a certain threshold stats, we'll be able to see a lot more movesets and attacks from those guys. And be a bit more careful here, because around that item there's gonna be a Wolverine just jumping straight from that window. Yep. Okay, over here you can see actually there is a brain sucker just behind the door. Over here, if you were to utilize a weapon that has a longer reach, you can actually kill him through the wall. And you will get the upper cathedral key right away, because that guy is the one that is holding onto the key. Not upper cathedral key, orphanage key. Orphanage is another subset area, subdivision area in this entire area. Okay, over here you can see up on that chandelier, there are actually 3 beasts up there. And once you get close to them, the chandelier will actually come crashing down, and those 3 beasts will come down as well. There are actually in total 4 beasts in this area. The best strategy to deal with them is just to separate them, one of them from the rest, and deal with them one at a time. Usually they will just come all at you once you get to the ground floor of this entire area, but for some reason when I'm recording this, these 3 beasts, their aggro isn't connected together. You know, when I used to play this area, all those beasts, their aggros are actually connected. So once you attract one of them, all of them will actually come at you. There are in total of 4 beasts in here. Just be a bit more mindful. There's another one up ahead. That's it for the beasts of this entire ground floor. There are a couple more brain suckers over here, and this door is a key. This door requires a key, which is the orphanage key that we wanted. Okay, the brain sucker in this area is actually pretty deadly and pretty frequent with their spells. The spells which will chain you up, and you can't move a single bit, and they will just come at you and suck out your insights. Whenever you get chained up, the best strategy is just to frantically press, spamming your R1 and L1 all together. It will actually shorten the time of the tentacle. I don't know how you describe that. Okay, there is gonna be a crystal lizard up ahead. Just kill it off before it enters this entrance hallway door. Because there's another brain sucker hiding over here. Okay, that's it for the ground floor. Up the ladder, there are a couple more brain suckers. Okay, now here we are, essentially being chained up again, so same strategy. Frantically press your L1 and R1 all together. They are actually more... They're actually weaker to thrust attack. But you know, our thrust attack is a bit slow in terms of the execution of the attack. It will actually leave out room for the brain sucker to cast a spell to chain you up. So we'll just use our normal attacks to frequently to just constantly causing damage onto him so that he won't have the time to really cast spell on us. And you can see there is actually a short pause before we lash out that thrust attack. And that's the key that we want. Just open up the shortcut. This is a place where we were fighting that beast that was ambushing us. Open up this door first. We are gonna get ourselves a quite important gesture that we will use later on in another area. This gesture is quite important and crucial later in the game when you are acquiring yourself a ruin. And that's about it. Now we should proceed to the orphanage area. This orphanage area doesn't have much to explore. There are just essentially two bosses inside. The first boss is gonna be Celestial Emissary, which are basically those blue bubble-headed alien looking like enemy. You know, Yusefkas being that fake Yusefkas being working onto. And since this is orphanage area, my surmise is that all these orphans are being actually experimented by those healing church choir group to turn them into those blue bubble-headed alien looking like creatures. That's just basically my lore. I'm not sure whether it's correct or not. It's just my wild guess. Okay, open up that shortcut. Let's just hop back to Hunter Stream first to clear out our reserve of blood echoes. Same here. Just try to get our stamina up to 28. Which will allow us for an extra swing attack in straight sword form.
Farewell, mate.
I'm just testing here. It's still not enough. Okay, over here I'm just trying to swap for a ruin that can actually reduce the arcane damage. Because those two bosses that we are gonna be fighting are essentially dealing arcane damage to us. So arcane damage negation is quite important here, and also I actually want to change my costume here. But upon comparison I found Yharnam Hunter is quite good on its own, so I didn't really change that much on my attires. Okay. After all preparation are set, let's just hop back to Upper Cathedral world again. Up the stairs across the gate, just ignore those larvae. We're actually gonna be greeted one of those alien creatures shortly after we enter this hallway. Just remember they are pretty weak to thrust attack. Okay, for this boss fight, we are gonna be greeted with a lot of those celestial creatures, and one of them is actually be turned into a giant form of itself once the health bar drops to half, and usually the one that is gonna turn is the one that is more passive. Yeah. You can see this guy is pretty passive in terms of his attack, so we'll just focus on our attack. Focus our attacks on him. Once his health bar drops to below half, he will actually turn into a giant celestial emissary. Over here, you will actually be thrown by a lot of them, so just turn to your great sword form. They are pretty weak to thrust attack, so use your thrust attack prompt. Okay, over here you can actually see that there is a glass door, a glass window, you know, just in front of this lamp. That glass window can actually be broken into if we were just to execute a roll into it. But before that, let's just spend the rune that spend the blood echoes that we just got.
Farewell, good hut, may you.
Okay, next boss, Ebrietas. Ebrietas is frequently credited as one of the most difficult boss in Bloodborne, but there's a certain trick to it as to how you fight her. Call beyond another spell that is too high for us to use in terms of arcane. Two little goons here, one just hiding behind this door hinge. Okay. Once we take the lift down this elevator shaft, there are gonna be a few larvae to take down and a summon sign. Just ahead of us is gonna be the Ebrietas, the boss that we are fighting, and which is our primary focus for this episode. The trick to deal with her is to just stand behind her severed tail. There is actually a room for you to stand. You can see that her tail is actually severed here, parted. Just stand in between these two pieces. Over here I actually died one time, so yeah, because I was primarily using straight sword just now, which is not really conducive to build up my beast wound meter, so I decided to just use longsword. Over here, actually, when she turns, you will actually be somehow warped out of her tail. So the best strategy here is once she turns, you also need to adjust your camera angle at the same time. I didn't do that here. Before I realized the battle has already ended. So just do it by yourself. But overall, this boss is not really difficult to fight with. There's your beast meter build up. And you can always, summon that NPC to help you in the battle if you find it too difficult to tackle with her alone. But once you heard that shriek, she has entered her second phase. Be a bit more mindful of this one attack that will actually build up a frenzy meter of yours. So just keep your sedatives on standby. That punch attack is a bit dangerous. That's it. Got ourselves another chalice dungeon item. Really important. Okay, you can see that there is a pile of God knows what here. You can actually use. You still remember that queenly flesh that you got from the dead body of that vile blood queen in Cathedral Castle who was killed by Alfred. If you are in possession of her queenly flesh, you can actually revive the queen here. Okay, continue to pop up that endurance to 28, and we should be good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Notice that little bit of extra endurance can actually do one more swing attack for you. So that's what we wanted. And just to show you guys whether the queen has really been revived, we can actually warp to Cathedral Castle, Bulgaria's seat, to take a look and see whether there is any new conversation from her. From what I recall, there isn't any new conversations. So if you decided to talk to her directly without kneeling down, she won't actually talk to you. So the same conversation as before, nothing updates. Okay, that's about it for this episode. For the next episode, we're gonna be exploring the last area of this base game. So good hunting, guys. See you next time, my fellow hunters.